It is my understanding that, and this is, I'm treating this like a rumor because I haven't been able to confirm it on my own, but my understanding is there is also another faction besides Horde that you can play in this game. I don't know if you know anything about that.
Yes, we have the Alliance side as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Tell me about the Alliance and how they could maybe... Are they able to do the same thing?
They are.
They are.
You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast with Dex and Mac. I got mouths to feed, so let's get this thing started. Time is money, friend.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Azeroth. You're listening to the Goblin Goldcast, your guide to making gold in World of Warcraft. This is episode 23. I'm your host, Dex, coming to you from Napa, California. With me on Skype is my co-host, Frodo, from Middle-earth. How you doing, Frodo?
Pretty good. You remembered.
I did remember. I understand that's what they call you out at the railroad now.
Only when I'm working the ground. I'm back in the office now. I'm warm.
Oh, man. Yeah. So, well, this week we're going to be talking about making gold with level 101 Twinks. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a little while. We're going to try to cover kind of the basics on that, about, creating the Twink, how to gear them up, and then where to take them after that, what to concentrate on. But before we get into all that, I wanted to let everyone know that due to a technical glitch of some sort on TuneIn Radio's end, we're not going to be able to offer any of our episodes on TuneIn Radio after episode number 20. They have up until that point. But I've had some back and forth with their tech support, and it seems like they've got some kind of a strange glitch on their end. And I was kind of hoping it was connected with our website glitch that we were having, but seems to be completely unrelated and can't really do much about it. So, I hope they're able to fix it, in the future at some point. But in the meantime, you're still going to be able to, of course, listen to our show on, our website or iTunes, Stitcher, any of the other, services that pull off of those.
And again, weekly, we also show up on the nerdmentality.com.
Right, yeah, and we've been picked up by a lot of the podcast scrapers that are out there, and they usually pull off of iTunes. But yeah, we're actually in a lot of different places. I'd hoped to have TuneIn Radio as kind of a nice place to be. I thought a newer place, I know, but yeah. But unfortunately, for now, that's gonna have to. We're gonna have to think about doing something with that later after they get whatever's going on fixed. Also, Mac, I believe you received an email from one of our listeners that had some insight into when we might actually see patch 715, and that I was maybe a little mistaken, as it seems, in what I thought was going to happen.
There was a Q&A, I guess, just before our podcast that neither you and I saw, and we were notified on Twitter that the 7.15 was going to happen after the holidays. Now, there's also been a notification, Nightholm, the new dungeon, is going to open up January 17th.
Okay.
So that was out earlier, either today or yesterday.
Right. So it looks like we're going to have a January release of 715.
That's what it's looking like.
Okay. Well, that's okay. That gives people time to kind of deal with it. I looked at the price of tokens right before the show started, and it was at about for North American realms, it was at about 58K, a little over, I think. And so it's still, it's still in a decent range. I really feel like that's going to nearly double. It's gonna peak after 715, and then I think it's going to settle back down into kind of a normal area. But who knows what that's going to be?
It'll be the new normal. Yeah.
Yeah, the new normal. So how was your week in WoW, Mac?
Week is fine. Still leveling. I went alt crazy again in a game that isn't as alt friendly now, so it's been taking a lot of my time.
It's getting better. It's in the process of getting better for alts.
Yes, it is. But I can't handle both accounts right now. I may be dropping my second account for a short time till it does get a lot better. Yeah. But having a lot of fun. Did World Bosses last week and this week. Had my second legendary drop. And it was my first one for my druid, but it's the second legendary that's dropped since Legion came out.
Right.
So kind of happy about that. Have you got your first legendary yet?
Yeah, I'm just swimming in them, man. What color are they again? Because I don't think that color works on my monitor because I've never seen that color.
It's kind of like the Headless Horseman to you. It's dead to you. I say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess if you need legendaries to be able to handle the content, it'll give you legendaries. But if you have the skills and you really don't need them, the game seems to be pretty intuitive in that way, and so it adjusts accordingly, doesn't it?
So you've got training wheels when you need them, right?
Right. I mean, it seems to be what's happening here, which tells me that the AI is just awesome in this game, that it's able to figure that out.
Well, it seems to figure out every time you're playing because they don't seem to drop for you.
Yeah.
How was your week in the game?
Yeah. Keep the hollow point bullets away from the assassin. So well, my week. Well, as per usual, this time of year, my playtime's a little bit limited. You get around the holidays, especially, and it gets pretty busy out here for me. But I have been experimenting with a few potential gold making methods, some things that are. I think I kind of teased this a little bit already, but it's in its infancy, and it may be one of those things that just doesn't pan out. But some things are looking good. Like I said, I'm playing around with it, and I'm not really ready to do more than just tease it. But I may have something nice to share soon. We'll just.
Oh, there we go. So. Oh, I did get a phone call earlier today from work asking me to come in for more overtime on Christmas. However, I'm already working Christmas. So.
Oh man, yeah.
No can do. I can't work in one department while I'm working in the other department.
I'm surprised you didn't find a way to do that.
If it had been different hours, I might have thought about it. But it is. I
think if the money had been right, you would have figured that out.
Oh, the money's right.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and get into this week's topic. This week we're going to be talking about level 101 twinks. First, we're going to cover making them and gearing up the characters. Then we're going to talk about how to actually use them to make gold. But first, let's talk about why this works. As you know, in Legion, zones and dungeons scale and adjust your character's level. At 101, it's kind of assumed that you'll still be using your old level 100 gear from Warlords, and as a result, level 101 content has been set up to be kind of weak. Especially if you're a geared level 101 with an artifact weapon, it wasn't really set up to be that way. Well, first things first, you're going to need to choose a class that you'd like to twink. And you'll need to also choose a spec. And usually when you're talking about your class and your spec, you think, okay, the class is important, but if the spec doesn't work out for me, I can always change it. But because we're talking about a level 101 twink, and you have to be level 102 to get a second artifact weapon, it is important to make that choice early on and stick to it in this particular case. You may already have a level 100 or 101 that you'd like to use. Honestly, almost any class will do if it's geared up properly, but there are going to be some preferences here.
Yeah, my preference for doing something like this is something that can take a pounding. I like it. The bear tank for the druid. My pally, either retribution. Mm-hmm. Or even a frost DK, something like that, something that you can grab a lot of mobs. If I tried to do something like this with my rogue, I've got an assassination rogue who's great. He mows through mobs one by one, 2x2 sometimes, but you get a lot of mobs surrounding him, and it does really take him down quickly. So I wouldn't want something that's quite as squishy, something that has a little more survivability.
And I kind of agree with that. I think a Ret Paladin or a Protection Paladin would be good, but my preferences are I love the idea of a Fury Warrior,
Right.
Frost DK, as you said. I think Beastmaster Hunter, like having the pet situation with that. When you've got the artifact weapon, you can really mow through some things. And of
Right.
course,
The Feign Death is great for survivability there.
right, and of course the Vengeance Demon Hunter. I know that. I'm sorry, Vengeance is the tank one, right? Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think Havoc is the
right. I always get those confused, the term for it. But yeah, Vengeance Demon Hunter's also really good. But remember, just really anything that's over geared is going to do well. But if you're wanting to maximize, you might want to look at some of those and tanks just. They just mow through things in this particular situation. If you want to, you can make a level 1 and power level it to 101 pretty easily. And we've covered, how to do that, with great detail, I think, in a previous show. So I'm not gonna rehash how to do all of that. I think it was like something like episode 2 or something like that where we covered that.
Back in the beginning, yeah.
It was early on, but. If you don't have a character already that you want to use, or you really don't want to make a new one and level it from level 1, you can always make a Demon Hunter if you haven't already done that. So if you have a level 70 on the realm that you want to do this with, and you haven't already made a Demon Hunter, a lot of people are probably going to be like me, and they've got a couple of level 100s from Warlords sitting around that haven't been brought into anything. Just because Legion hasn't been all that alt friendly, so a lot of us kind of abandoned temporarily some of these alts. I think you did that, and you're starting to bring some of them through now.
I'm bringing more of them back. I'm actually I'm making use of the Garrison a lot more than I thought I was going to. On Dalaran especially, with the furs and things like that, the sumptuous fur has gone up in price hugely. I'm gathering up resources and things like that for my Garrison every couple days, so I can, whenever it drops to that low price on the trader building, I can buy it real cheap and then sell it on the auction house. I mean, it's going for a bundle over there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And that's about the extent of most of my alts. But yeah, I am running about 6 alts right now.
Yeah, and it's a lot of us got really spoiled with Warlords about how easy it was to make use of alts and to get the most mileage out of them. This is one of those things. This level 101 Twink is something that, as an alt, you don't have to worry about keeping them current. Once you have once you've made them and you've geared them up and everything, there's no upkeep. You don't have
the
to.
plan is keeping them at 101 for a long time.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the idea is this is a gold making source, and you're going to go to this character when you're wanting to make a bunch of gold, and then you pop back to your level 110 main or what have you, and then move along with progression. So in the past, maybe you would think about an alt as, okay, I need to bring this alt to max level and do this or do that. And I know I did that with a lot of characters in Warlords.
Right, I've done that.
But the way Legion is set up, to get the maximum use out of an alt for gold making, as it stands right now, the best way to do that is to stop experience at level 101. And use it to make gold in various ways, and we'll cover that. Next thing I wanted to talk about on this is after you've chosen your character, you've done whatever you're going to do, whether you're going to start from level 1 or you're going to make a Demon Hunter or you have a level 100 sitting around that you want to bring through. If you haven't already, you would need to choose professions. And I think this is something that you should do very carefully when you're talking about the twink. I have a preference for a profession that I think goes hand in hand with this. In fact, I have a pair of them that I think work really well that may not be that intuitive that they would go together, but I kind of see it that way. And that's skinning and enchanting. And the reasons for that will become a little more clear when we talk about what you do with them, afterwards. But the idea in general is that if you're slaughtering a bunch of skinnable mobs, you're going to be able to make a lot of gold off of skinning. And with the enchanting, when you're killing large numbers of mobs and running through dungeons and so forth, you're going to get a lot of drops and a lot of things that you cannot use because you're twinked. It's going to be junk gear that is going to be way below your eye level. And so if you can disenchant it, you're going to be able to turn that into gold. So that's my thoughts on that. But there are other professions that can be very profitable in this, and I know you probably got a couple of opinions on that as well.
No, herbing and mining, I think could go well with that, because Legion leveling your crafting requires you running dungeons and up to raids to get the higher level enchants. That's not going to work on the 101. So if you're going to be using this for gold making, I would stick with the gathering professions. So, or like you said, the enchanting and again gathering with leather.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is it's nice to have something to do, something to use your Blood of Sargeras on. So if you are a double gatherer, that can be a little more difficult to really make use of that unless you're going to use the blood trader for
yeah, that would be what I would use it for, is use the blood trader, get your resources out there, whatever extra you out, even class hall resources over there from the blood trader in Dalaran.
Yeah. I wanted to, something that I just remembered that I meant to cover at the beginning of the show and I forgot that I wanted to mention is, I was just talking about gear dropping and disenchanting, and we're talking about what professions to use. And something that on most realms has really dipped down in value on the auction house is Obliterum. And the reason why is more people are making Obliterum, and at the same time the demand has gone down because people have already maxed out their gear with Obliterum, and a lot of the people that need it that need it for gear, well, they don't need it now. They've already advanced their gear as far as it can go. My understanding is that after 715, I believe we get 2 more levels that gear can be advanced with Obliterum, which means people are going to be seeking that out again, and there's going to be a temporary
spike in price.
Yeah, just very temporary. I don't expect it to last very long at all. Almost like if you blink, you'll miss it kind of thing. So there may be an opportunity, not just for making Obliterum and holding on to it and selling it after 715. That's all well and good. But I think the people that are going to really clean up on that are the people that are on a realm where Obliterum has really dropped down to just crazy low prices. And there's a lot of it on the auction house to where you can just control the market and buy it up. Buy it up when it's really, really low, and then dump it after the patch. And I think there's an opportunity, a very short window opportunity, when that happens to make a lot of gold. The people are going to want it, and when the patch goes live on that Tuesday, if you're the one putting Obliterum up there, and I would put it up for higher than what the auction house prices are, because what's probably going to happen is what's up there is going to sell out, and then then yours will sell. You remember, you don't have to be the lowest price if demand outstrips supply. You can be the highest price if somebody buys all of it in the auction house. So anyway, I didn't want to digress too much, but that is something that I completely forgot about that was going to be in the show notes. And unlike normal, where I don't remember until after the show is recorded, I did remember this time before.
There we go.
So we're talking about professions. You may want to pick one gathering profession and pair it up with a good crafting profession, possibly if you would like to make use of the bloods in that way. But we are pretty much talking about a kind of a turn and burn kind of situation, to where you're logging in, you're just you're just running through and making a bunch of gold really quickly, and then logging out and going back to your main or what have you. You're not building up a character for the future. He's your gold hound. Yeah.
He's your sweatshop goblin.
Yeah. So anyway, that'll bring us to so leveling to 101 is what you need to do after you've selected your 100 or your level 1, or you made your demon hunter, whatever you've done. You got to get them to 101 with power leveling, or just bringing them through regular leveling, however you want to do it. And you want to do your artifact weapon chain first. So the quest chain. So you're going to go through and of course you're going to pick your spec, and you want to make sure that you have picked the spec that you want, because this is one of those cases to where for this character at least, it'll be a semi-permanent choice for which spec you want to go to, because of the like I said, the artifact weapon. So do your artifact weapon chain, and if you choose to do a frost death knight, as I understand it, you need to understand how to use death grip, right? I think we established that if you don't recognize what arrows mean when they're pointing down and they're showing you to put the gargoyles on the pressure plates, you need to. You thought I forgot about that.
We're going back there, aren't we? Yeah.
We are. So anyway, go. Hey, you know what? The artifact weapon quests are fun.
Oh yeah.
They're a blast.
I finally did my survival hunter one. That's kind of fun.
I have not done that one yet. I may have to do it for giggles. But
I did that last week. I've got it. Anyway, so
so do that, and you also want to set up, of course, your order hall. Now, having said that, don't expect to have this great big advanced order hall that's got all the bells and whistles, and as you and I discussed before we started recording the show, there are going to be some limitations, being that you're going to be stuck at 101.
Right.
But still, you want to set it up, and you want to take as much advantage of it as you can. And one of the things that's going to make you a better twink is getting some of those abilities on your artifact weapon and building it up. Just the raw artifact weapon with nothing on it is powerful in its own right. But once you start adding artifact power to it and building that up, it's going to be like butter. Yeah, I mean, you're going to go through things like crazy. But once you've hit 101 and you've done your artifact weapon, you want to make sure you don't accidentally hit 102. You want to stick with 101 so that you've got all those really easy mobs that you can tear through. So what you're going to do at that point, you should go to Ogremar and turn off your experience. The NPC in Ogremar is at about 7445, and the character's name is the NPC's name is Slots, Slahtz, and he's stealthed, so you have to kind of be really close to be able to see him. And he does charge 10 gold for you to turn off experience. So you're going to want to go in there and have him turn off experience for you. It is my understanding that, and this is, I'm treating this like a rumor because I haven't been able to confirm it on my own, but my understanding is there is also another faction besides Horde that you can play in this game. I don't know if you know anything about that.
Yes, we have the Alliance side as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Tell me about the Alliance and how they could maybe... Are they able to do the same thing?
They are.
They are. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Stormwind, go into the Stormwind Keep, to the main room, go up straight to the hall to the throne room, off to the right-hand side from the throne room. At location 8736 is Baston, Behsten. He's off to the left of this table when you walk in the room. Again, he's stealth, just like the one in Ogremar. Get over there, pay your 10 gold. You can shut your experience off that way.
Cool. Now,
I will out you again and say you have played Alliance in the past.
This has never been confirmed.
This is a bad rumor, huh? Nasty rumor.
Would I be right in assuming that when you get close to this Beston guy in Stormwind, is it Stormwind? Is that what it's called?
Stormwind, yes.
Stormwind. Okay.
Smart Alec.
That's the name of this. Is it safe to assume that you'll be surrounded by a bunch of things that are like gilded gold and bluish kind of, not a lot of black and red, but maybe a lot of blue and gold, like everywhere to the point that it makes you want to vomit? Can we assume that you're going to see a lot of that?
I didn't notice it.
Maybe lions on banners and whatever they do to try to butch up. I don't know. But all right. I'll stop that. Rumor has it that we have 2 people that are Alliance that listen to our podcast, so I don't want to offend them. But
I make a decent amount of gold with my Alliance tunes as well.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, so they have a use. Okay. So okay, so now then comes the fun part. And by fun part, I mean expensive part. Once you've created this character, you've got him to 101, you got the artifact weapon, you've set up your order hall, you've turned off your experience so that you won't accidentally level. Now you got to turn him into Superman. So what you need to do is you need to get the highest eye level gear that you can get. And you're not going to be able to likely get 850 eye level in every slot. There are a couple that you can get. Very important when you go to the auction house, make sure that it doesn't require a higher level to use than 101. You want to look for that high item level stuff, but remember there's a whole bunch of level 110 stuff that's going to be decently high item level, and you might get excited and say, oh, wow, that's cheap. Well, it's because it's 110.
You can't use it, yeah.
Yeah. So you'll know the level 101 twink stuff because it'll probably, most of it be in about the, well, at least from what I've seen, in about the 30K range or higher per piece. So this is not, not for the faint at heart. If you want, it's not a cheap way to make gold. There is a little bit of.
This is why I have all of my own crafters.
Well, now there's crafted gear, and then there's also some droppable gear. But yeah, and that's the other thing that I was going to say. Some of this stuff's going to be really pricey, and it's also not necessary to have something that high of item level in every slot. Just having a few of those is going to make you crazy strong, against this stuff. So,
because again, everything is going to scale to what would have been a starting level 101 tune versus a higher item level 101.
To put it in perspective, anyone who's listened to our podcast, you've heard us mention from time to time about one of our favorite farms. Both of us really like, and that's Bastion of Twilight. Going in there and farming that front room and to make ember soap bags and true gold. And we of course were doing that at level 100 very easily. We would have the leech trinket from Kazak, to go in and do that, and some classes were definitely better than others. I liked my arcane mage for it, and I also liked Fury Warrior for that. But I think you used Frost DK when you did it, right?
Frost DK and Frost Mage.
Yeah. So there are a few classes that are really good at that. But what I'm trying to say though is the difference between having every single piece of gear be eye level 850 for this, and having maybe 2 or 3 of them be like this, is kind of like the difference between doing that raid at 100 and doing it at 110. I'm not able to do it any faster at 110 than I was at 100. They're still dying immediately. Everything in there dies immediately
right.
at 100 and at 110. So you are going to be super OP for this. And like I said, even just the artifact weapon makes you pretty tough. So yeah, just gauge it by how much you want to spend. You're going to have to spend a good amount of gold for each one of these pieces of gear that you're going to add. So just kind of give that a little bit of thought, for how much you want to invest into it. As Mac mentioned, if you've got a crafter that can put together, that may be a part of your decision-making process for which class you have. If you've got a leather worker that can make some awesome gear, maybe you want to make a demon hunter. Maybe you want to make a regular hunter for that. Or if you have a blacksmith, then maybe you're looking at a paladin or a warrior or DK. So if you can save gold by crafting your own stuff, which I know that's what Mac will be doing.
Just because I'm cheap.
Hey, I've made no secret of it. I'm the guy who has millions of gold but doesn't even put ember soak bags on everybody, okay? Because it's like, no, I can't do it. You don't deserve the ember soak. I can't give it up, right?
Right.
So yeah, so no, I'm not spending gold just willy-nilly either. But for something like this, I could probably see myself putting maybe 3 to 400k at the most into the twink, and that's if I was going to be using him pretty regularly.
Right.
But that would be if I was going to use him to run dungeons. If I'm just going to use him to slaughter mobs for skinning or what have you, then it's really not necessary to put that much into the twink.
Right.
You could probably get away with doing maybe 150k, and that would be plenty. In my opinion, 150k might even be overkill. You might be able to get away with 100k and still be able to do that. But I would go the extra mile for running dungeons. At any rate, so after you've chosen through your gear and you've kind of planned out and decided what you're going to craft, what you're going to buy, and you make your investment that way, then you've got your twink, and then what do you do with them? Well, the short answer to that is you're going to be mass killing mobs that you're just more powerful than. And there are a lot of places you can go to do this. I know there's some places that you and I have both gone to. They have skinnable mobs, for instance. You have a skinner, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there was a place that you were taking advantage of for a while there for skinning that was in, I want to say it was in High Mountain. Is that right?
There's some places in High Mountain for a 101, yeah. Out there by Nesting area where there's the bears and the
right.
and the yeah.
Yeah, so with everything scaling like that, I mean, as long as you're not in Suramar, you're in good shape. Everything's going to scale down to you, and you're going to be killing pretty much everything with one hit. And if you're playing a tank class, pull as many as you want. Yeah, pull the entire area, up on top of you, and then wipe them out. Find something that respawns, fairly quickly. And again, I keep going back to skinning because that's the one that, obviously it's the profession that goes hand in hand with slaughtering mobs. But if you're
it's a lot easier to find mobs than spawn points sometimes for.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're a skinner and you're an herbalist, and you're in an area where there's you can slaughter things that you can skin, but then you've also got herbs, right. And there are mobs that are that you can herb after you kill them too. That works the same way as skinning, right. And same thing for mining. You have the basilisks and things like that you can mine. Of course, that's not as good as it used to be. That used to be a little bit too good, and they had to put the fix in on that a bit.
Yeah, they pulled in the Nerf bat.
They did. But besides using it to farm zones, here's something you don't want to lose sight of. It's not just the zones that scale in Legion. The dungeons do too, and the interesting thing about it, this is kind of a weird thing, but if you can imagine being a level 101 and grouping with a level 109, taking them into a dungeon, and as the level 101, you're the power leveler.
Right.
Because as long as they sit back and don't engage. Because when they engage, they're going to be engaging something that's their level, not yours.
Right.
But there's an opportunity to make a lot of gold, and I really mean a lot of gold with the dungeons. And I think this is actually the best use of it. Now, I'm not talking about running in, doing a dungeon run and just grabbing the loot from doing a dungeon run and making your gold that way. Yes, you can make gold that way. Yes, you can get gear that you can disenchant and so forth. But what's better than that is if there's a quest that requires a certain dungeon to be run or something like that. If you're a DPS and you've ever sat in LFG trying to get a looking for dungeon, I should say. You're trying to get in and you're waiting for, a tank and a healer to materialize, and you know what I'm talking about here. If you're a healer or you're a tank, you go right in, and you don't have queues where you're waiting. If you're DPS like me, I pretty much play DPS. That's what I like to do. I know the reality is I might be waiting a long time to get through, and as we have noted, time is money, and even non-gold making people in this game have figured out that that wasted time is time that they could be advancing their character in another way. So people are willing to pay for dungeon runs, and there's a YouTube personality out there, a Russian man. And it's I'm gonna mess up his handle, but it's Unrun or something like that. I caught one of his videos the other day where he was talking about where he did this very thing as well, to where maybe he's charging $2,500 or $3,000 per person for a dungeon run that takes him 15 minutes to do. So, if he's getting 3,000 times 4, even my math says that's 12K that he's making in 15 minutes of doing a run, plus whatever drops he gets or what have you. And, you just ask them to please stay at the entrance, so that they're not, getting smashed, because what you're doing is you're pulling the whole dungeon and just slaughtering everything.
There you go.
So there is definitely a way to make some gold if you want to get on and get into trade chat and kind of advertise your services there. Know how to market yourself on that and offer these dungeon runs. I do suggest that after you make your twink, you get in there and
Make sure you can do it.
Try it out. And, make sure that you can perform as advertised. This is the salesman in me talking right now. Don't take out an ad in the paper until you're sure that you can really sell the product for that price.
They're not as impressed if you're taking a dirt nap the first mob you pull.
Right, and trust me, in a previous game that I used to play, I was known as the power leveler. People would come to me to be power leveled, and there were times to where I would think, hey, I'm going to change it up. I am so bored with always doing the same group of mobs to try to power level, and I'll try this other thing over here. And there'll be something that I didn't know about it, or something I didn't calculate, and then my character gets killed, and so it's somebody that's never been power leveled by me before, and they're going, don't know about this guy.
I remember way back in the day, you, me, and one other person went into an area and found a boss-type mob and pulled it, and we sat there. It couldn't kill us, but we couldn't kill it.
Right.
We sat there for like 30 minutes trying to kill the thing. Oh, it was just we were laughing so hard.
But it was for a quest. There was a triggered event or something like that connected with it, and it wasn't supposed to be killable or something like that, as I remember. But we didn't know because the expansion was new, and
it was so funny.
I had forgotten about that, but it's like we were getting absolutely nowhere. Yeah. So yeah, always test before you advertise. Make sure you can handle it, because you don't want to soil your reputation. When you're first starting out to do this sort of thing.
Or your armor. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't soil your armor either, because there's always a witness around for something like that. But, so
they've got the selfie camera in there now too. Click.
Man. So we're talking about places to go with these. I know that there's. You've done some of this mass killing in a couple of these zones as well, haven't you? I mean, I'm trying to think of where you didn't you go in and.
There's been so many areas with my DK, especially with his artifact where he's at right now, and my that druid bear tank. Right. He doesn't kill him as quick as my DK, but they can't kill him, so he just grab a bunch of mobs and go to town.
Right. I mean, I love grabbing a ton of mobs with Fury Warrior. That's fun. That's really fun. And the thing is, my Fury Warrior is level 100. So guess which one's going to be I've actually got 2 Fury Warriors that are level 100, but one of those is going to become my new twink, and I'm gonna gear him up, and I'm gonna actually play around with that a little bit this week, and slaughter some dungeons and so forth with it. So. Time that I brought another one up, I've got a few characters that are en route to 110, but still just have the one that's actually made it to 110.
Well, you need to get a couple more. That way you have more chances of possibly getting a legendary drop.
You keep bringing things around to that, don't you? It's just
that and the headless horseman mount are like the 2 things I can kind of wave in front of you.
Okay, well, I think that's gonna about round out our discussion about using twinks. Just remember, plan it from the beginning, especially because of your artifact weapon. Before you get out there and you do that artifact weapon quest, make sure you've properly made your decision for which spec that you want to use, especially if it's a class that. There are some classes like, if you've got a class that's got a healer spec and you want to play the healer spec from time to time, and you forget and you're under the wrong spec when you go to do your artifact weapon. Just don't make the mistake and get the wrong artifact weapon.
There we go.
I guess is what I'm saying on that, and and make sure that you're spending what you intend to spend. And keep track of how much you're spending on the gear, And remember, to make this effective, you need to get that gold back. So, for instance, if you're doing dungeon runs and you're making 12K, per run, and you're going to be doing this, if you're going to be doing 3 or 4 runs a night, for a while, then yeah, okay, you can feel pretty good about sinking 100, 150, 200,000 into the twink. But if you're just going to be using it to slaughter mobs for skinning, I think it might take you a while to get that back. So just kind of gauge it by that. Well, I think that's going to about wrap up this week's show. I'd like to thank Schaefer Bates for his awesome work as our Goblin voice at the beginning of each show. Also, Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme music, Hot Rock. It's licensed to us under Creative Commons.
And if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can reach us at Mac, that's M-A-C, at GoblinGoldcast.com, or Dex, D-E-X, at GoblinGoldcast.com. We're also at Goblin Goldcast on Twitter, or you can visit us on Facebook.
And don't forget to visit the swag store at cafepress.com/Goblin Goldcast. And you can leave us a voicemail on our website, GoblinGoldcast.com. And please subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher if you listen to us there.
And we'll see you next week.
Now go make some gold.
I can't drink anymore yet.